This is Weapons and Warriors, and it is by far the most violent board game of the 90s. Weapons and Warriors was made by Pressman in 1994. This is their deluxe castle combat set. This set includes a miniature castle and siege camp. 2 players duke it out to have the last soldier standing. This is one of the larger game boards that you're going to play with. The castle is on the far end, defended by the blue team. The forest is in the center and acts as obstruction between the camp and the castle. The siege camp is occupied by the red team. The red team is armed with a catapult and a ballista, specially selected weapons designed to be able to handle the weak spots of the castle. The castle is armed with a catapult and a cannon. This is where the game really gets fun, and why I consider it the most violent board game of the 90s. Each player is armed with miniature siege weaponry that actually fires small plastic marbles called battle balls. So both players are actually firing small plastic projectiles back and forth across the table at each other with mini catapults, cannons, and ballistas. It's an absolute blast. However, I don't know how they sold this without sending safety goggles with it. Here are a few takes just so that you can see the kind of destruction that happens with this game. The rules of the game are simple. Players take control of their choice of the blue or red army. The blue army's job is to defend the castle, and they're armed with a small catapult and a small cannon. The red army's job is to siege the castle from their encampment, and they're armed with a ballista and a miniature catapult. Players begin their turn by rolling their die. As long as they have a commander, they're allowed to roll 2 die. If their commander gets killed in combat, they are reduced to 1 die. Players can distribute the points they get from their roll to either move their character along the game board or fire that many shots from their siege weaponry. It's important for players to move their soldiers forward on the board, as once that soldier is positioned, if the player chooses to fire one of their siege weapons, they can move their siege weapon up to the position of the soldier and fire on their enemy. This is important because closer range means maximum damage. The victory rules are simple. The player with the last soldier standing wins. It's not as easy as it looks, and these games can take a little while. Honestly, going back and playing it now, what surprised me is the impacts that these little marbles make on the plastic. It was so loud I was worried I was going to break something. But my cats absolutely had a blast chasing around these little marbles and the toy soldiers that fell off the game table. Overall, the game is a lot of fun. However, I'll warn you, you will want to have some space and some safe spots for the marbles to be caught. I highly recommend not sitting behind your end of the table when the enemy player is firing at you, because these little marbles can kind of hurt. If you want to track down a copy, it can be difficult to find a complete version of this game, as unfortunately they were comprised of a lot of pieces that were easily destroyed and the plastic wasn't that durable. However, I piecemealed my version together through multiple parts kits that I bought on eBay, so it's not impossible to get yourself a copy. In fact, I was fortunate enough to still find one in original packaging as well, that still had the pack-in for the Medieval Times restaurant that it included when it was originally released. This was a fun game to track down. However, I'll admit, of all the games that I own, this one probably takes up the most space and is the most likely to cause a mess just because you're flinging marbles everywhere. So it's a lot of fun. It's a neat curiosity. It's not something that I would bust out every day. The setup can also be a bit of a pain in the neck, but overall, it's just a fun board game to drag out once in a while and show to your friends.